Hello everyone, and welcome to the first of many tutorials on Adobe Premiere Pro, the editing software we're going to be using this year. This first tutorial is not going to get into the program quite yet. First I want to go over and talk about just some basics about how to use a Mac computer and just some like file structure and organizational things that I'm going to expect all of you to use as the year goes on. All right, so first thing I want to introduce you to down here, this is called your dock. This is where most of your popular programs live. You know, I've got Premiere down here, Final Cut's also here, you know, and then I put it like Spotify on mine and Microsoft Word and Outlook. The one I want you to get especially familiar with is this guy right here. This is called Finder, basically like Explorer on Windows. This, if you click on that, this is your file management. So, you know, in each of these folders and icons and things, that's where all the files on the computer live, and that's where you can access them. Desktop here is the same thing as my desktop here. So you can see if I click on desktop and Finder here, I've got this folder called Hidden Desktop where I just like put all of the stuff that was on my desktop into one folder just to keep it a little bit cleaner. That's also up here. So just know that these are the same thing. So the first thing I'm going to go into is our file and folder structure. So for each project, you're going to have to create a folder and a bunch of folders within that folder in order to house all your different kinds of clips and media and exports and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. A bunch of ways to do that. With Finder up here in the corner, you can click on a file, new folder. Keyboard shortcut for that is Command-Shift-N, Command-Shift and the letter N. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, Command-Shift-N. To see down here, as I talk about keyboard shortcuts, they will pop up in the bottom left-hand corner of my screen. So I'm just going to call this first project, and then inside of that folder, I'm going to create a few new folders. So you can also right-click new folder. If right-click isn't working on your computer, go ahead and go up to System Preferences. If you click on the Apple logo, go to System Preferences, and then click on your mouse, and you can enable secondary click right here. That's your right-click. Control click also works if you want to hold down the Control key and click. That'll act like a right-click. All right, so I'm going to create another new folder. This first one I'm going to call Project. All right, the project folder is going to be for all of my project files. So Premiere will create a project file. Mostly that's what you'll be putting in here. Also, if you're working in After Effects or any other Adobe software, then you'll save all your projects in here. All right, we're going to create one more new folder. We're going to call that Media. Media is where clips live that you maybe download offline, or are maybe it's pictures that you're planning on putting in your project, something like that. It'll also be where exported subclips go, which we'll talk about at some point, but not for a little while. That's your media folder. As opposed to your raw folder, raw is where the clips coming straight off your camera are going to come. So you're going to go out and shoot. It'll shoot onto an SD card, and you'll put that in the computer, and you'll transfer all the clips files off of that SD card into your raw folder. The next folder is audio. The audio folder is for music and sound effects mostly. Basically any audio files you're planning on putting in your project. I like to keep that separate from my media, so I know, hey, I'm looking for that sound effect. And if I have like 100 sound effects in my 10-minute short film, it's much easier to find as opposed to in with all my other clips and stuff. So that's audio. Next folder is graphics. Probably not going to use this folder as much in this class. I'm not going to go into After Effects and special effects. If you're interested in that, I can point you in the direction of some great tutorials and concepts so that you can explore it more on your own, and I encourage you to, but I'm not an expert. But still important, especially if you're creating like titles in Photoshop or something, those kinds of graphics are going to end up in your graphics folder. And last but not least is the master folder. Master is where you are going to export all of your final projects. So, after you've shot, you've edited your video, it's completely finished, and you're putting out a master export of it, it'll go into our master folder. So those are your 6 folders: audio, graphics, master, media, project, and raw. It's important that you all remember these and use them. It's important that you always know where on your computer all of your media is. If you don't, that's how things get lost. If you download a picture or something for a title and it stays in your downloads folder, and then the computer's full of, it's out of space, and I delete the downloads to make space, suddenly you don't have that picture anymore. If you keep it in a project folder, that's a place no one is going to delete it. So, a couple of other things I just want to point out about Mac OS X. I also want to talk about opening applications. Obviously on your dock is the easiest way if the application you're looking for is on your dock. If it isn't, you can come up here into Finder, open a new Finder window. To open multiple Finder windows, let's say we're transferring files between folders, Command N is going to open up a second window, and then you can just click and drag things into different folders and areas on the computer. You can also do file new window. Command N is the shortcut to open up that. And if I look over here in my favorites, one of my options is applications, so I can click here. You can see all the applications that I have installed on my computer. I've got a whole bunch of Adobe products, Premiere, Audition, After Effects, etc., along with a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's one way if you're trying to open up an application and Premiere is not down here, or Safari isn't there, that's your web browser. Then you can always open it up in here. My favorite way to open an application, though, is with Spotlight. Spotlight is this little microphone up here in the corner. If I click on that, it'll open up this text search box. I can also hit Command spacebar on the keyboard. Command space will automatically open up this thing. And then from here, I can just type Prem for Premiere, and it'll pop up, and I can hit Enter, and it'll launch the software. Same thing with Safari. Type Safari, hit Enter, and it opens up a Safari window. So Spotlight is super useful. I mostly use it for application opening. You can also search for files on your computer. So let's say I know on my computer somewhere I have a Night of the Stars video, so I can search Night of the Stars, and look, it found that folder for me. I can click on that or hit Enter, and it'll open up that folder location. So take advantage of that. Super useful. And that will do it for this video. In the next one, we will start looking at Premiere Pro.